This box contains very rare photographs taken on board the Titanic on its tragic maiden voyage. But who took these images, and how did they survive? Our images of the Titanic have been coloured by the £200 million Hollywood spent tinting its spectacle. Even when the 1958 classic A Night to Remember put it down in black and white, the big screen was awash with deadly drama. But for a true picture of life on board, we've another man behind the camera to thank. And this time, not a Hollywood producer, but a Jesuit priest. Francis Brown was an orphan raised by his uncle Robert, an Irish Jesuit bishop. He gave the boy a camera when in 1897 young Frank embarked on his first adventure, a grand tour of Europe. And the lad's photographs of his trip showed a real talent. This is one of Frank's old cameras. He could have made a living as a photographer, there's no doubt about that, but when he returned from his trip to Europe, instead he decided to follow his uncle into the priesthood, so he was focusing on the spiritual as well as life through the lens. Then in April 1912, for Frank's birthday, his generous Uncle Robert got him the hottest ticket in town, a trip on the luxury liner, the Titanic. Mind you, it was only for the first leg of the journey when she sailed from Southampton to Cherbourg and then on to here to what is now Cove in County Cork. But it provided Frank with a passport to wander freely around what was then the most luxurious liner ever built. And what he captured through the lens in his few days on board the Titanic would later be hailed by the Times as the photographic equivalent of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I should begin by telling you how lucky you are to get a look at these, because once we heard that they were valued at £2 million sterling, I have had them in an underground vault for years and just collected them this morning to show them to you. It's the first time that they have been shown on television, so consider yourself privileged.
But these were not just holiday snaps. What makes the photographs extra special is the fact that Frank Brown managed to capture life on board the Titanic. Life which for many hundreds was to end just a few days later.
That's the most valuable photograph taken in the Marconi room, with Harold Bride at the controls where he sent out the iceberg messages only a few days later. Harland and Wolff in Belfast, the builders, had no photograph of that, so whenever you see a photograph of the Marconi room, it has to be this one here.
Amazingly, they had not enough room for enough lifeboats, and yet they had room for an indoor rowing machine.
That was ironic, all right, wasn't it? Apparently the Titanic had state-of-the-art exercise equipment. That man on the back is on what was an electric camel, and he's named there by Father Brown, Mr. Parr, the electrician, and Mr. Macaulay, the gymnast, and then he adds poignantly, both lost.
His charm gave him access to all areas, places no one else had ever photographed. Frank also used his charm to captivate a wealthy American couple who then offered to pay for the rest of his trip, all the way to New York. Francis Brown couldn't believe his luck. He immediately cabled back to his Jesuit superiors, requesting permission to sail on. The reply back was both direct and succinct. Get off that ship. It was a disappointed and despondent Frank who disembarked at Cove, County Cork. Father Francis watched as the Titanic sailed off into the vast Atlantic. Of course, he was completely unaware of what was about to happen, but true to form, he took one final photo. And this is believed to be the last image ever taken of the doomed ship. 2 days later, the Titanic hit the iceberg and 1,500 people died. Was it a quirk of fate or the hand of God? Who's to know? But Father Brown's stern recall from the Titanic potentially saved him and his amazing pictures from plummeting 2 miles to a cold and watery grave.